like to talk about a case study now, a patient in particular called Bill. So Bill underwent a robotic radical prostatectomy, bilateral nerve sparing, for localized low-grade prostate cancer. The operation went smoothly, there were no complications. His post-operative recovery has been routine also. He had the catheter for 2 weeks and that came out without a problem. Bill does have some residual urinary incontinence, which is expected. He has seen the pelvic physiotherapist for some hands-on physiotherapy and has got his exercises down pat and is practicing these regularly. So Bill came to see me 4 weeks following his operation with the goal of starting the penile rehab. Now, Bill had done a lot of research before he came to the clinic and came with a huge amount of information. He knew the statistics and the percentages, what he should start, when he should start it, and could basically write his own treatment plan. So for a patient that was very high on orderliness and conscientiousness, it posed quite a challenge to get him to actually listen to what I had to say, because I got the impression that he was skeptical that I actually had anything useful to say because he had done so much research of his own. He had very high expectations and believed that he was going to be in the 10% of patients that only had erectile dysfunction for 6 weeks and that everything came back to normal. So he's a happily married man and has been married to his wife for 45 years. He has recently retired from a very high-powered CEO job whereby he had 250 employees beneath him. So he's very used to organising people and calling the shots, basically. So having gone through this prostatectomy operation and now being in such a vulnerable place was clearly very unsettling for Bill. He had really good pre-op function and a healthy sex life with his wife. They had intercourse 2 to 3 times per week, and he maintained an erection firm enough, long enough for both partners to be satisfied and reach orgasm. So the challenges that Bill presents to me was the fact that he had decided how his treatment should go, and I could see that the urgency in his demeanour meant that if he got his erectile dysfunction sorted, that would solve his anxiety. So when I discussed further with Bill about his understanding of his situation, it soon became apparent that he was going to be in below 10% of people that only had erectile dysfunction for a very short period of time. So this was the first area that I needed to work on with Bill and to help him come to terms with the fact that for most men it can take up to 24 months for full erectile dysfunction to return, and that it was really important that he lowered his expectations somewhat and to be gentle on himself and his wife, that this is a marathon, not a sprint, that it is going to take time. So we then talked at length about bringing his wife in to the next appointment and the benefits of working together through this. As much as his success hinged on getting an erection, I steered him towards considering that the intimacy and being together with his wife was equally, if not more important at this stage, and that we would work consistently and diligently with the rehab side of things to ensure that the penile structures got the best possible chance of recovery throughout the next 24 months. when I explored how things were currently with his wife, it soon became apparent that he had retreated from his wife, both physically and emotionally. He had decided that it was his issue, that he had this erectile dysfunction, and his issue alone that he needed to sort. So he went on his own journey to find solutions to this, to come back to his wife, and hopefully everything would be as normal. So this area needed to be explored further with Bill, and getting him to recognise that this is a really intense process that he's going through, with many changes to his body and his whole identity. And from what he told me about his wife, they had a very secure, loving, caring relationship. And when I finally did meet his wife, she was all in and very proactive in supporting Bill in whichever way she could. And in one of the sessions, she actually broke down in tears because she had felt shut out by Bill, and therefore was relieved that we had come together, and she was let in on how Bill was actually feeling. But as Bill said, he felt extremely vulnerable, that he was exposing his fears and problems, and was worried that his wife would reject him. And when she heard this, it was a really big turning point in his recovery, because she expressed her undeniable love for him and quest to do whatever needed to help him recover. So at this point, she joined him on his journey, and they then went forward together. I have to say that I did feel a little bit out of my depth with this gentleman. He was having anxiety attacks as well. He wasn't sleeping very well because he was so stressed about the changes in his body. It was a phenomenal thing to see someone just be so affected by their erectile dysfunction. So I did refer him to see a psychologist. Unfortunately, this wasn't so helpful for him. Perhaps it was the approach that the psychologist took, but he actually preferred to continue with me, because I had been there from the beginning with the journey, and perhaps through bringing his wife on board, I earned rapport and trust. So that was a positive for me. So what then was really important was to show Bill that he was still capable of getting an erection. And once I had described and explained and demonstrated what the vacuum erection device was capable of, that this was designed to pull the blood flow into the corpora cavernosa, to expand the spaces, to help prevent the deposits of collagen, to help prevent shrinkage, and to reframe it as taking your penis to the gym, he was then more amenable to this strategy. And given his high orderliness, he was very diligent in doing his penile rehab exercises 3 times a week. And so then I saw him a couple of weeks later, and we then explored the concept of the injections, because despite being able to get an erection with the vacuum device, he was still bothered by the fact that he needed to use a ring to hold the erection in place. So we then explored the injections, and once he was administered a injection and saw that he could get a firm erection, he was absolutely relieved and over the moon that this was still possible. So it really did allay a lot of Bill's fears that it would never work again. And in retrospect, he was able to see how his belief system of not being able to achieve an erection had a negative effect on him, and he was almost despairing in his life, whereby he had just retired. Preoperatively, he had just retired, and the kids were out of university, independently living successful lives. Bill was ready to live his life, and then he got this prostate cancer diagnosis, which was absolutely detrimental. At a time when he was supposed to be traveling and enjoying the finer things in life with his wife, he was having to navigate through prostate cancer diagnosis, treatment, and recovery. But having these successes along the way and being supported to address these really helped allay a lot of his psychological distress.